All right, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome. So, they are continuing to delete Epstein files that have Trump's name in them. That is a thing that is now seemingly happening on a daily basis. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. We also have a whole bunch of examples of the quiet part being said out loud. Kristi Noem was not supposed to say this out loud. Lindsey Graham was not supposed to say this out loud. They're pretty disturbing examples, so we'll get to that as well. Later on, the brain-damaged John Fetterman cannot stop sucking off Republicans, and it's now gotten to the point where he probably needs some sort of an intervention. It's gotten that bad, y'all. And then later on, China is running circles around America and humiliating us on a regular basis now. And Argentina has just erupted in violent protest as Milei is effectively trying to bring back slavery. He's destroying workers' rights in one fell swoop, and it is a horrible, horrible thing to see. So we'll talk about all that and more, and you guys know the drill, man. Everybody, please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time. You can also support the show on Patreon or tip with the thanks button on YouTube, which I believe is just below me over here. Or is it over here? I'm not sure which side, but you guys will find it relatively easily. And then, of course, go sign up for Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack. We got a lot of great stuff coming up over there. And let's go ahead and jump right in, y'all. So, Epstein files updates. I got to give you guys these Epstein files updates. And look, the more stuff we learn, the darker it gets. It really is that simple. Every time you thought like, hey, we got to the bottom of this, no, you didn't. It gets deeper. It gets darker. It gets worse. It gets just soul-crushing when you learn the reality of how this world is run. So let's take a look at this here. Framed photos of little girls. A line drawn between a little girl with a rattle and a skull and bones, and Epstein Reddit is debating whether the last photo hanging on Epstein's wall may be Donald Trump. So they put the exact file here. I actually did go to make sure. I verified that this is actually true. It's a file that has like 300 pictures in it, but these are some of the pictures. So first of all, can somebody please give me a benign interpretation of what we're looking at here? Is there any possible way to spin this to make this seem less disgusting and less atrocious? I don't think there is. So it's literally a picture of a baby holding a rattle, and then there's a line drawn where clearly it's trying to indicate the baby is dead because it becomes like a baby face and with crossbones, like a skull and bones, basically. I think this says exactly what we all think it says. And I think you now understand why there are some files that openly discuss burying two little girls in the desert by Zorro Ranch, the evil ranch where, Jeffrey Epstein would run his eugenics experiments and try to spread his seed and use young girls as incubators. I'm not kidding. All this stuff is out there. All this stuff is available in the files. So the fact that, many people haven't, and shout out to Trump File for finding this, but a lot of people did not stumble across this in the Epstein files, but here's further evidence of potentially murdering babies. We also have this one. Now, I must admit, guys, the first time I saw this picture, I was like, nah, that can't be real. There's no way that's real. Come on. And look, to be fair to me, every now and then, there will be a fake picture of Trump or Epstein and Trump. And, I'm always like, why would you make a fake one when there's like 1,000 disgusting real ones? If anything, you're just helping the other side cast doubt on it by doing fake pictures. So when I first saw this one, I was like, nah, there's no way. There's no way that shit is real. There's no way. Really? There's a picture that Epstein framed of him biting the ass of a child. And then, like I said, we looked it up. It's real. He had it framed. It's in the picture itself is not. Oh, it actually is. There is a file where it's alone, but there's also one where it's zoomed out. And this one is like sitting on like a bookshelf or something. And you can see like, by the way, this is going to get worse. This is going to get worse. Ready? How about this one? Giggling as a child clearly lifts up. I guess it's a girl. And this is the girl lifting her dress and exposing herself. Another thing that Jeffrey Epstein had framed. That's great. And then there's this one, and people are saying they're speculating whether or not that's Trump. It certainly is the body shape of Trump. It's possible that it's not, because this guy seems like to have Trump's, almost his current body shape, whereas, back in the day, he was a little thinner than he is now. So I don't know. I'll leave it up to you, but it does look like Trump. It's giving me Trump vibes. And the reason why it's so blurry is because, again, this is like on a bookshelf and taken from a distance in a low light room. So people had to zoom in to try to take a look at it. But again, day after day, there's so many Epstein files. You have millions of files. So people are still combing through it and still coming up with new horror shows. And remember, with all this stuff going on, Kash Patel was the guy who said, oh, there's nothing we could do, bro. There's nothing. We can't prosecute anybody. We can't indict anybody. We can't, like, open investigations. Like, what more would you need? We have people talking about rape. We have people talking about torture. We have people talking about murder. We have just countless examples of, like, open discussions among pedophiles, and there's nothing you can do? Jesus Christ. The fact of the matter is, it's what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Trump said to Marjorie Taylor Greene, you're coming after my friends. It's going to hurt my friends. To which our reaction is, we don't care, bitch. We want if your friends are pedophiles, if your friends are rapists and torturers and murderers, we want them to come down. Oh, it's going to take down the global governance structure. Good, the system fucking sucks anyway. We can build something better. Right now, we're governed by a bunch of sadistic pedophile rapists. Are you kidding me? They honestly look at us like we're subhuman. The billionaire elites look at us like we're subhuman. Meanwhile, tell me who's really subhuman if they're the ones who are fucking murdering babies and raping children. All right, how about this one? I just found a smoking gun email exchange between Epstein and a victim that he was grooming that appears to prove that he was faking the ages of girls he trafficked into the States. Quote, you are going to be 22, not 14 years old. He pressures her to watch porn, to take online ESL classes, to send him nudes, and to send him her 3 favorite porno links. I have no idea how else you could read this exchange besides Epstein clearly programming this poor child in preparation of her passing through customs and immigration, and I can tell you that this picture of underage girls disguised as adults, likely with counterfeit or fudged papers, is supported by other communiques I've found. So here, let me click on this here. And you can see the underlined portion. Send me your 3 favorite porno links so I can see what you like. Don't be shy. Then take the TOEFL test. You are going to be 22, not 14 years old. So it's almost like he's coaching a 14-year-old. He's coaching a 14-year-old. And you might say, well, Kyle, hold on now. Why would a 14-year-old even casually be emailing with Jeffrey Epstein? That seems like a super bizarre scenario. But you have to understand, in other parts of the Epstein files, there are basically Epstein recruiters where they go to these poor countries, these developing countries, and they find young girls, and in some cases, young boys too. And they basically, like, there's a structure here where the recruiters get paid, and then they take the passports of the girl. They promise them, like, hey, you're going to be a model. You're going to go to New York, and you're going to be a model. You're going to make it big. That's what they do. They hold these, like, dreams over their heads. And if you're from some impoverished country, from some family that has no money, and somebody comes and they're promising you the sun and the stars, like, what are you going to do? You get caught up in this web of criminality, where effectively you're being human trafficked when you're 14 years old, and you got stuff like this going back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein. And this is why Epstein had, as I always tell you guys, in the emails, I believe it was actually, there was about a dozen passports of underage girls, or mostly underage girls, from the post-Soviet bloc countries. So this is what we're dealing with here, bro. And the more time goes by, the more we get smoking guns, and the more Kash Patel's going, what? What are you talking about, bro? Oh, am I the head of the FBI? I don't even know what you're talking about. Whatever, bro. They got nothing. They got nothing. They're protecting the pedophile cabal, and they know they are. All right, so we also have this. This is shout out to Ryan Rosbiani here for this, but he says, just in, another 71 Epstein files with the word Trump deleted from the DOJ website. We are now down from 5,361 to 4,727. 634 files gone. So, and he leaves the trail here, you can see. So 1 to 10 of 4,727 results. And if I click on this one here, another 22 Epstein files with the word Trump deleted from the DOJ website. We are now down to 5,361 to 4,798. 563 files gone. And you click here and you can see the reduced number. And he just has a whole, you click on this, it just keeps going, where every day it's like they're deleting more and they're deleting more and they're deleting more. And this is something, I mean, we caught them red-handed the very first time they did it, where the FBI released an image that had an Epstein's drawer. And in the drawer, there was a picture of Trump and another picture of Trump, and it looked like a bunch of documents related to Trump. Like he had a Trump-specific drawer. And you guys know, you've seen the picture of, like, he has this desk, and he's got all of his pictures with very famous, influential political people, billionaires, etc., like celebrities. There was one with him with Mohammed bin Salman, for example. There was Bill Gates. He had pictures with all these people, these high-profile people. He had a literal drawer that was dedicated to Trump. They posted this file. The White House, of course, flipped the fuck out. I'm sure Trump himself reached out to Kash Patel or Dan Bongino at the time, or Pam Bondi was like, what the fuck is, you better get rid of this. This is making me look guilty. You better get rid of that. And then they pulled it down. But of course, once something hits the internet, it's there forever. Like, you guys know how this works. There's no such thing as deleting something from the internet. Once it's out there and people see that it's out there, that's it. It's a wrap. It's over. It's there. It's you delete it, but it almost makes it worse in some respects. And that's what happened here, is they keep deleting more Trump files. Like, bro, you're not fooling anybody. We already know how guilty you are. Guys, Mar-a-Lago was investigated, was part of the Ghislaine Maxwell investigation. They subpoenaed Mar-a-Lago because they said this was like the core of the human trafficking hub. Like, this is where they were doing it from. Bro, I think he's one of the 10 co-conspirators. I'll just say it. I think he's one of the 10 co-conspirators. And remember, according to Ghislaine, there were 29 deals made with people, individuals, as part of the Epstein files, where they said, under no circumstances will we come after you. 29 people. Who are those 29 people? I guarantee you, those are politicians. Those are billionaires. They're some of the people with the most power. They're people, in Mossad, for example. I guarantee you this is what it is. All right, I'm still not done, though, because we have this. So Sloppy Steve Bannon, nobody has come out of this thing looking more pathetic and disgraceful than Sloppy Steve Bannon. And you guys know he would text with Jeffrey Epstein like a giddy schoolgirl, like they were they were smitten and in love with each other, and every day they would go back and forth 1,000 times. And so this one just came out. This one is super, super sad. Steve Bannon referred to Jeffrey Epstein as a, quote, god. Turkey currency getting clobbered. Perfect. Bannon says, Bannon hammers, God shorts. And then Epstein says, I don't think of myself that way, but, in other words, maybe I am a god, huh? I guess I am a god. And then Steve Bannon says, I do. I do think of you as a god, Mr. Pedophile Human Trafficker. I think of you as a god, Mr. Freelancer with Russian intelligence and Mossad and the CIA. I think of you as a god, Mr. Works for Saudi intelligence. By the way, this guy has the nerve to pretend like, I'm hot on the trail. I'm studying the Epstein files and I'm going after the deep state and I represent the real forgotten man and woman. Sloppy Steve has the nerve to try to present himself as the future of MAGA after Trump. He has the nerve to do that. Like, bro, are you kidding me? You're just as guilty as Trump in these files. You're all over them bitches. There's direct emails and text messages of Sloppy Steve saying, well, I have a plan to clear your name here, good sir. You have a plan to clear the name of the world's most notorious pedophile and child trafficker? And you want to be president, which, by the way, he does. He wants to be president. He wants to run for president. Jesus, what a fucking charlatan. I said this before, I'll say it again. There is no such thing as an anti-establishment right-winger. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing as the populist right. It doesn't exist. If you're a right-winger, by definition, you are supporting hierarchy. You're supporting the power structure. You're supporting the cabal of financial interests, the pedophile billionaire sadists who run the world. That's what you're doing. And it's time for people to wake up. It's time for people to finally realize that. All right, how about this one? Description of redacted image found in the latest Epstein files, okay? So I guess here's the image right here is what it looks like, this big redacted area. And then let me read this for you. The photo shows a girl, her face visible, who looks prepubescent with medium-length dark hair. Several Caucasian men are holding the girl's legs spread open. Her vagina is visible and gashed, and there is blood coming out. Jesus Christ. In the photo's foreground, a man with a white shirt appears to be inserting his hand or something into her vagina. Oh my God. Oh my God. A round imprinted symbol of some kind is visible on the girl's leg on the underside of her left thigh. In the photo's right-hand corner, there is an arm with a green shirt visible. An arm holds the girl's knee in the air in the photo's left foreground. Ugh. Jesus Christ. And remember, guys, we talked about last week, Leon Black, big-time CEO. He was outed as allegedly biting the vaginas of underage girls. And there was some girl who wrote some very disturbing thing about him biting her and she bled. I'm 38 years old. Okay, I just turned 38. It's this year that I'm learning about some of the dark, disgusting perversions that exist in this world. I never in a million years would have thought there's a perversion of biting an underage girl's vagina until she bleeds. I didn't think that existed. I didn't think that was a thing. I didn't think anybody would be that depraved. I didn't think anybody would be that disgusting. But not only does it exist, some of the world's most powerful CEOs are the ones who do it. And it's Jeffrey Epstein who facilitated getting these underage girls and having them abused and in some cases raped, tortured, and murdered, getting them to this cabal of pedophile cannibals, sadists. So God. And by the way, to think that there's some people out there still pretending like, the Epstein hoax, like the president does that. There's nothing to see here. I don't know what you're talking. Nothing to see here. Bro, okay, if you go back, look at every single one of the Epstein segments that we've done, back from when just the emails came out to batch 1 and batch 2 with the Epstein files coming out, all the way up until today. If you just take the past 3 months and look at all the Epstein segments that we did on this channel, there's not a single person who can watch all of that and come out going, yeah, there's nothing to see here. Like, you honestly have like fucking pudding in your head where your brain is supposed to be if you think like, oh yeah, there's nothing at all to see here. Nothing? Nothing. There's not a single investigation, not a single indictment, not a single thing that piques your interest. Law enforcement officials, nothing. And it just goes to show you, it's one big club and you ain't in it. All right, so Tom Barrack is the U.S. ambassador to Turkey at the moment. He was a big Trump supporter. He's a big Trump friend. And he even spoke for him at the RNC in, I forget what year it was. I don't know if it was 2016 or sometime around then. And this guy, I think we already covered this one, but he asked Epstein to send him photos of child to make him smile. So from Jeffrey Epstein to Tom Barrack. Oh, so it's Epstein saying this to Tom Barrack, okay? Send photos of you and child. Make me smile. Hope you're good. Let's catch up. There's stuff like this littered throughout the files, bro. Littered throughout the files. How about this one? Shout out to Midas Touch, by the way, for digging this up. I don't know. I think this might be an older BBC documentary on Trump. And Midas Touch went back and dug this up. And here you have another person who was in that world, who was in that orbit, and they're blowing the whistle and spilling all the tea. Listen to this.
Barbara Pilling was a young model in New York. She first saw Donald Trump at a party in the late 80s. She's never spoken publicly about it before.
He said, how old are you? And I said, 17. He goes, oh, great. So you're not too old, not too young. That's just great.
Oh.
I remember one of the waitresses offered him a drink. He didn't take the drink, and he slapped her bottom. She was a blonde. He gave her about a slap, and he was very loud. He's like, don't worry, that's not your tip.
Heather Braden also saw Donald Trump at model parties in the 90s. One was in Florida. At 23, she was one of the oldest women there.
I remember particularly seeing him at a party at a house in Miami. This particular party, there were 4 men and probably 50 models.
4 men and 50 models?
That's approximately what I would remember. And I was one of the models. I mean, I felt like I was in some, I could have been very well being auctioned off in some sort of a sex slave ring. That's how I felt. I felt like a piece of meat in a meat market. What else could I feel like?
Jesus Christ. I got to watch this whole thing. I haven't seen this whole thing yet. The other thing I'm going to recommend for people to do is there was actually a Netflix documentary on Jeffrey Epstein. And even if you just watch that, like if that's all you ever knew about Epstein was just that documentary, you would walk away going, something ain't right here. Something ain't right. And I think they don't get into specifics of like intelligence ties, but they bring up that there might be intelligence ties. But outside of that, it's just all shit that they could prove that was verifiable, right? And even if you watch that, you're going to know that the rot is deep, bro. The rot is deep. It's not as simple as, what's the cover story that they went with? The cover story, and this is what like fucking Ezra Klein believed this and said this publicly that, oh, do I think he was a pedophile? Yes. But was he really well connected to a lot of powerful people? Yes. But I think those worlds were separate. It's like when they say like, oh yeah, he was a pedophile, but all of the girls that were trafficked from Ghislaine Maxwell to Jeffrey Epstein only. This fucking baby brain shit. How does anybody believe that? Now, to be fair to Ezra, that was before we got the Epstein emails and all the Epstein files. But the fact that anybody was naive enough and Pollyanna-ish enough to think like, oh, I'm sure that's how it is. Just one bad guy. Like, what the fuck is that? What is that? All right, I'm still not done yet with this, though. According to the Epstein documents, the FBI interviewed a victim who accused Trump of sexual assault. The victim was considered credible, and the FBI entered it into its case files. Epstein was found dead the next day. Seems like a big deal and worth looking into, says Pedro Gonzalez. Jesus Christ. This is also like when we learned Epstein was beginning to leak little things here and there about his relationship with Trump. He was beginning to leak little things here and there, and that's when he was arrested, and that's when he wound up dead. In federal custody when the federal government was run by Donald J. Trump. He was just beginning to let some of the spicy stuff out, and then boom, that's when he's dead. It is just astonishing to me that all this is happening in plain sight. It's all happening in plain sight, right in front of our eyes. So how about this one? Want to know how evil the FBI is? In 2000, Jeffrey Epstein's house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, made a list of Epstein victims. He went to a lawyer with the list. He told him about the rapes and trafficking. The lawyer contacted the FBI. The FBI set up a sting operation. No pedophile was arrested. No victims were interviewed. Guess what happened? Rodriguez was the only one who ended up in jail. He went to jail for trying to sell stolen property. Oh my God. This coincides perfectly with what we just saw in the committee hearing with Pam Bondi, where we had a bunch of Epstein survivors there, and Pramila Jayapal said, Epstein survivors, please raise your hand. They raised their hand. Then they go, were any of you contacted by the FBI? None of them were contacted by the FBI. None of them were contacted by the Trump regime to give a statement, to give evidence, to fucking go through any particulars. Nothing. All the victims, they had no time for them whatsoever. When your whole thing is supposed to be doing an Epstein investigation, releasing the Epstein files, you don't even talk to the victims. In fact, some of the victims reached out to the FBI, reached out to the DOJ, and they didn't fucking hear back from them. This is incredible. Okay, so this guy that we're talking about here, Alfredo Rodriguez, Epstein's house manager, who tried to blow the whistle on this. Ready for this? Julie K. Brown, who blew the whole lid off the Epstein case to begin with. She's the original reporter that did a lot of the reporting. She says, and he died in jail. Another suspicious Epstein-related death. Oh my God, come on. Come on, bro. This is so crazy. By the way, who else? Jean-Luc Brunel, famous pedophile, ran in the same circles as Jeffrey Epstein. John Casablancas, the guy who ran the teenage modeling agency as well, who Trump tried to give Ivanka to him, right? Jean-Luc Brunel wound up dead too, in prison in a very similar circumstance to how Epstein died. Turns out these guys, again, they had immense dirt. They had immense dirt on every wealthy, famous, powerful person. All of the billionaires, a lot of the politicians. They had so much dirt on all of them. They were not going to let these guys stay alive. They were not going to let that happen. John Brockman sending an email to Epstein about attending a party with a dozen one-year-olds? What? Re-Thanksgiving news, John Brockman, Jeffrey Epstein, from Brockman to Epstein. You well, better than well. Things are going well. But no, Jeffrey, when am I going to see you? Give me a call tomorrow if you're bored at home. Happy Hanukkah. P.S. You missed the big event on Saturday, a party with a dozen beautiful East Side girls. Well, a dozen one-year-olds. Is he joking because they were like 16 or no, I don't know. I think we're well past giving any of these people the benefit of the doubt. Okay. I think we're well past. Okay. Even more disturbing given the conversation is the fact that the attached image is fully redacted. Oh boy. Okay. All right. Yeah. And then here, by the way, you can see on the bottom right, you can see the exact file number that's there. By the way, this has happened so many times where like I see a file on Twitter and I'm going, okay, I think that one is fake, right? And then I'd say like 60 to 70% of the time there will be like, here's the file number, or they'll send the link to the justice.gov thing. And like, I'll see one and go, nah, this one seems fake. It's a little too extreme. And then I'll go search it and it's real. And I'm like, motherfucker. Like, I'm going to have to adjust my worldview in the sense that when you see Epstein stuff, default to thinking it's real, because most of the time it's real. It's true. Most of the time it's fucking real, even if it sounds preposterous. And then finally, one of the masks on the wall on Epstein Island's dentist torture room is Howard Lutnick's face. So this is the face, and this is what Howard Lutnick looks like. Yeah. Every time you think we hit the bottom of this thing, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. It gets so much deeper, so much darker, so much more disgusting. And yeah, we need mass trials. These people need to be fired. These people need to be purged from polite society. And we need mass trials. They all need to go to prison. I'm thinking of that guy, Peter Attia, who he was hired by Barry Weiss at CBS. He came out in the Epstein files looking fucking horrible because he was really close with Epstein. He said, when I don't see Jeffrey for a while, I go into Jeffrey Epstein withdrawal. That's how much he loved this guy. That's how much he loved him. He was talking about, hey, is pussy low carb? This is one of the things he was talking to Jeffrey Epstein about. The world notorious famous pedophile. That's what he was talking to him about. So this guy was just outed in the most disgusting way, and they kept him. CBS kept him. I mean, like, what are we even supposed to say to that? This guy should be in prison. And by the way, just so you know, he's a doctor, right? The role that Peter Attia played, think about this. The role that Peter Attia played was the exact same role of Tom Cruise in the movie Eyes Wide Shut, where Tom Cruise was the doctor and he like wound up in this elite social circle and they got that like pedophile club that they do and it's like almost like a cult Satanist type shit. Peter Attia is a doctor. He was a doctor to Jeffrey Epstein. He was a doctor to Joe Rogan, by the way. Like wealthy, famous people, he's their special doctor. And so the difference is Tom Cruise is uncomfortable with his role in Eyes Wide Shut. Peter Attia was perfectly comfortable. He was perfectly comfortable. He thought nothing of it. He famously said to Epstein, like, you know what the craziest thing about being friends with you is? I can't tell a soul what you do. Well, why is he saying that? Because he knows he's a child sex trafficker. That's why he said that. Fire this motherfucker. They should all be fired, and whoever can be investigated and can be indicted and can be brought up on charges and convicted, they should do that ASAP.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.